Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Onsite and Offshore, a dedicated podcast for professionals involved in offshoring projects, where we chat with business owners, project managers, analysts, and software developers who have successfully supported their overseas clients from India, and also connect with entrepreneurs who outsource the work to offshoring firms. I'm your host Suresh Ashok, founder of Matsya and Fintech, with a passion for selling and supporting offshoring projects. Introducing our guest for today's episode is Mr. Sivakumar Veerappan. With over 17 years of experience running a leading global technology company, Siva is not only a technology innovator but also an entrepreneur, conference keynote speaker, and a meditation practitioner. In 2006, he founded Anubhavam Technology with a vision to create an impactful solution for clients across industries and countries. Under his leadership, Anubhavam has successfully served over 200 clients in 24 countries, utilizing the latest technology, data-driven insight, and agile methodologies. Welcome to our show, Siva. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you, Suresh, for having me.
First of all, thank you so much for allocating time for us. That's too over the weekend. Appreciate the nice gesture. Siva, as you know, been inviting you. I've requested multiple times, to be part of our on-site and offshore program. So it's an honor to have you as our guest. And the theme of the podcast, as I've told you before, that's based on-site and offshore. So I know you have lots of experience working with international audience. So I'll start with the theme of the podcast. That when did you start working on international audience? Do you recall your first projects and client, Siva?
Yes, I do. So mid 2000s, if I recall, is my first international project. It was a project for veterinary DVM professionals, they call it in the United States. We actually built a social network website where all the veterinarians come and get connected. They will have their directory, forums, and people who have need help with their home domestic animals.
Right.
They used to reach out to them for the help and things like that. So that was my first international US-based project.
Right. And prior to that, did you have any experience interacting with the audience, or where the project which you executed, was it for your own company or you were working under someone else at the time?
It was pretty much my first job, where I actually embarked on a journey of becoming a programmer.
Right.
So it was for someone else, but then it kind of shaped me as a good programmer. I learned. This is late 99 or something. I become a Java developer. Those days, Sun certification for Java. Now Java is bought by Sun Microsystem is bought by now Oracle, but back then it was Sun Microsystems.
Right.
So they used to give certification, which used to be a very prestigious, programming certification. After receiving a certification like that, I embarked on a journey to become a developer, and it was my almost the very first good project, I would say.
Yeah, that was way back in 1999, right?
99. The project actually started in mid 2000.
Okay. So how has the industry changed, the offshoring industry changed since you started it? You have traveled a long period now, close to 23 years, working as a programmer, then setting up your own business. What are the areas you have observed, the offshoring industry has changed from the time, when you started and till now, in 2023?
Actually, there is a lot of change. When we started, it was in 2000, I say.
Right.
The industry was still picking up. It's very few companies were large size companies, and then you wouldn't see many smaller companies back then. And it is usually you would see someone who has worked outside India, like US or UK, who come and set up another organization, or someone who is you know who was a VP or a very lead role, in an IT company, who wanted to have their own company, would set up a company. That was the trend back then, because people wouldn't give a project to someone who didn't have a lot of experience.
True.
Now, if you take a look at it, I think anyone can start a company. Anyone can come up with an idea, and they're able to convince the customer and deliver projects. So I see that's a big shift because it was if you when I started my company, though I was only 25, and people commented that I was too young to start a company. Now you
Right.
can see school kids are starting their own apps and business. So I see the age barrier has gone. And then back then, there was always a requirement for you to, if not you, some of your manager or the client would often frequently visit your either they visit you or you visit them, and there's a lot of meeting in person. And technically speaking, now the projects that you have, a lot of projects that you don't even visit a client or you don't even get to meet them in person. So the technology has improved so much that we used to call deployment process, or you go to a place and deploy things. With innovation of software as a services or cloud-based technologies, people often nowadays stay home and or stay at office and deliver solutions across the world. And I mean, there are many other changes. Now back then we wouldn't worry too much about the data security, right? We would worry about viruses and things like that. But now any development, any software company or product company, one of the biggest concern is like data privacy and security. Now you can see an emerging field for cybersecurity. We didn't have it as big as today, right? And now in early 2000s, if it's offshore, it's a very big company outside India would want to reduce their cost,
Right.
and they would set up offshore divisions and hire programmers in India and things like that. But with the startup ecosystem, now you see there are lots and lots of companies coming, right? And there is a whether there is a need in India or a need in outside India. There's not just offshore alone now anymore. It's just people with an idea can start a company. The startups have grown. Uh, I wouldn't say the word mushroom, but it is as quick as you can think that you have thousands and thousands of companies emerging every year. Yeah, I mean back then it was very difficult to get visas and travel. So it's all a celebration when you're traveling to US or
Yeah, true.
UK and things like
True.
that. And people come, friends will come to send you off, and it's a big topic of the town. If you are someone going offshore, these days I think it's become so normal, right? Anyone just
True.
go, come back, and the flights and frequencies have increased, and you don't have to plan a lot. I mean, back then we used to plan a lot. We probably do like 3 or 4 visits outside. I mean, it's
Right.
very. Yeah, it wasn't very easy for someone to at a junior level to travel. But now you see people travel a lot and fly a lot, move a lot, and so then as much as the travels have increased, so much the need to meet in persons also have reduced. But I would say the requirement of the world has also evolved. For every small things we are trying to automate now. Back then, the offshores were only for most essential solutions, right? And you would want you must have to automate those technologies and solutions. Now we started to getting technologies for our comfort. We had started to getting technologies for our luxury and things like that. So that has increased the need for building many offshore companies and software development companies and product companies.
Right. And Shiva, one thing I observed what you said in the 1999 or in 2000, only the bigger companies were investing in offshoring projects. And now, as you rightly said, even the smaller organization, people with 5-member teams or 10-member teams, if they have a good idea, they can set up their own firm. Even the registration process for registering a company in India as well as in the United States, it's a very simple process. As a country, we have also evolved. Don't you think so, Shiva? In terms of
Yeah.
the back end work, the registration, as well as to add to that, even our country's infrastructure as well as the IT setup infrastructure. that has also taken a huge leap in the last 20 years.
That is so true. Because back then the knowledge was not very, um, easily available.
Right.
When we were programming, and we wouldn't find as much help as we would find today on Google, right? The same thing with the setting up a company, how to do your marketing, how to reach out to international customers. Like back then, there was no LinkedIn, so you can't really go find a contact if you don't
True.
know anyone in the US. So you depend on somebody who has lived outside India, whether it's US or Europe. And those guys are the one who would connect you with the people. So you wouldn't know so many people,
True.
and you seldom find contacts. So the access to potential customer, access to knowledge wasn't really a easy thing. But thanks to internet, thanks to YouTube, thanks to all the social media sites,
Right.
the knowledge has come to your fingertips now. So you can literally start a company without even visiting a registrar office,
That's
just
so
sending a
true.
few requests online. And I mean, forget about starting a company in India, but you can start a company anywhere in the world sitting in India, right? And that has become so easy, and you can do that less than a few days time.
So true. And Shiva, you also mentioned about traveling abroad. Those days it was an excitement. Even when I first traveled to United States, like, I was so happy. But now, the excitement has died down. I don't get excited traveling any part of the world. When was your first trip for a project for an international audience?
Well, I traveled for the first time in 2005.
Hmm.
So that was for the US project.
Right.
Um, so although I have worked with many US clients from India, I didn't get to travel for work. So it took almost like 5 years. 5 years of dream sometime, but then also I wasn't really keen on traveling back then. Now, I mean, I like India. I like living with friends and family. So there wasn't really a super excitement for me, or uh, unlike any other developer who would always want to end up in the US. I was only going to US for a need, right? It's
Right.
not because of my desire or keenness to live in the US. It was only to go do something, live there to get things done, and then come back. And that was me. Not very usual.
Fantastic. So, what was this project all about? Like, where did you go as a programmer or as a project manager? Went for some implementation work, or some portion of work was done in offshore, and you went to finalize the project or execute the
Yeah,
project?
around 2005, the travel was more frequent. It was just you go there for a month and come back, and there's always, like, building a team in the offshore, working with the leadership team in the US.
Right.
Um, so that was a short 1 year project, but then I was going more often.
Right.
So it's usually to know the leadership team, understand their vision, requirements, and come back to offshore team, talk about what is that the leadership team is thinking about. Because I was actually heading an offshore company for an organization in the US
Right.
by the time. So it was more for you usually travel. I mean, sometimes there was a very very specific need. Sometimes you just keep it as a habit to go there and be there, because you are the one who is actually bridging the communication between the client, the leadership, and your offshore team. So
True.
we had that habit of being there.
Sure. And now you travel quite often. I mean, getting an appointment with you was a tough job for me. I've seen you traveling to Malaysia, Singapore, and also attending conferences and giving lectures. You've recently been awarded in Malaysia, correct me wrong, Shiva, in an event?
Yes, we for our product Creatrix campus, and I give a lot of speeches, keynote speeches on higher education and technologies. Of course, our company has been awarded many times for
Right.
our product, for emerging higher education and many other criteria.
True.
So, I mean, I've been talking on conferences for almost, I would say, 12, 13 years now. In
Mhm.
between, I took a break. Early 2010s, 11, I traveled frequently outside India, spoke many conferences about social media technologies, mobile technologies. I was kind of a technology evangelist out of interest. I talked a lot about technologies. And I think we were one of the first company to bring cross mobile development to India. And I advocated such technologies. There was a fear back then to even touch cross platform mobile technologies, but I thought that is going to be the future because no one wanted to build a solution for mobile in three different technologies. Back then you had Android, iPhone, also Windows, and all three had its own technologies and programming languages, and it's a three times investment. So I kind of pushed these type of cross-platform technologies and kind of created an awareness.
Right.
um, so on, I mean, I'd spoken on many topics, and now I think we do it more frequently because of the need of the higher education worldwide.
Right. And the product is called Creatrix Campus. We'll discuss
Creative.
about the product, in our next segment. Since you mentioned a lot about the offshoring work and how things have evolved, do you believe the offshore team receives sufficient recognition for the contribution to the projects they undertake?
It depends on the kind of people that you work with. It's
Right.
very subjective, right? And on a broader perspective, offshore is a term for anyone. It's not just India, right? Now, back then we used to compete with only a few countries. But now, if you see, more than 50 countries compete in the IT offshore development, right? And you can see all our neighbors are our competitors. You can see, European companies, smaller growing companies. You can see South American companies. You can see all the other Asian companies. Everywhere there is offshore, and the movement is big. So recognition for if you talk only India specific, there has been plenty, right? Because of the you could see all the big brands, bigger companies have invested heavily in India because of
True.
that recognition and trust that they have with the programmers in India. But then there's also funny enough that our Indian companies have invested in other countries where there are programmers and started a branch or a division there so they can have augment their staffing scarcity, right?
Okay.
So that also has taken place. So there is recognition, but sometimes um, our people, generally offshore programmers, or not usually the ones who know how to communicate their work effectively.
Right.
So somebody sitting across thousands of miles would not be able to see your work. I know how well you are doing and what kind of effort you have, invested. So such kind of situation that oftentimes you find this is an under recognized situations take place, right? I'm not able to tell you the percentage of how well the recognition or how they are not recognized, but there has been both situations. So in a broader perspective, yes, there is greater recognition, but there is also situations that I have witnessed that you won't be recognized if you don't know how to effectively communicate your work and outcomes. So
That's
sometimes the
so
outcome is recognized more than your effort.
fair enough. That's very true, Shiva. I completely subscribe to your thoughts. Communication is one of the biggest challenge for some of our folks in terms of they might do wonderful work in the back end, like developing, as well as in many other aspect of offshore work. But again, if we don't communicate it properly, then that becomes a huge challenge for the international audience to understand what we're doing.
Yeah,
And
so I
Shiva,
would sometimes say, if you, it's a culture matters, communication
yeah.
matter, and the leadership you have matters, and of course, outcomes and performance matters. So and make sure you get feedback more frequently than waiting for one appraisal.
Right, fair enough. And Shiva, for someone who's starting out their career in the IT industry, what guidance or suggestion would you offer? I mean, you can relate to when you started your career, you had very limited resources for learning as well as for guidance. And now, as you said elaborately, that now people have many access. They know, what is happening around the world, which are the top technology they can focus on. So, what advice you would like to give to freshers who are joining the industry?
All right. Okay. That's a tricky question because there isn't one standard list of advice you can give because the mindset of the person who is starting the company is vary, right? So, but based on my experience, I can generalize a few thoughts and might be useful to someone who's listening to it. The first and foremost thing is to know what is your interest, right? I mean, first you need to know. Many times people come and say, I can do everything. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. When you're small or if you're an individual and if you try to offer too many things, the people who are trying to buy from you or trying to give you business will not feel very confident. So I think identifying the interest that you have, and it should also have a need. For example, you want to be in cybersecurity or a analyst, uh, data analyst. I would say artificial intelligence, whatever that industry that you're trying to choose. First, the area of interest you need to identify. What are you trying to do? Unless you have lots and lots of funding and you have a team of people who can write business plan and strategies and things like that, that's a different situation altogether. But I would say the area of interest is the first thing. Then, once you choose the specialization, then you have to find your foundation strong. That kind of knowledge that you need to acquire, kind of technology that you need to have access to, and software and hardware and things like that. Learning about it and finding every possible courses, every possible person who has got experience. So you have to network with such people. You have to meet with such people, learn what is the current situation and demand. Because staying informed is the most important thing when you're trying to do business, right? You can, as easy as learn, go on to so many blogs that talk about it or understand things from your YouTube and courses that are coming. Um, and then be aware of what's happening right with the industry, and sometime what is happening in one country may not be the same case with the other countries. So you have to decide, are you going to play within your country, or are you going to find international customers? If it's international, you can't say I will go to any country because the culture matters. So you have to understand the culture of any country that you're trying to do business. So again, focus on one or two countries where you have good contacts, good awareness about their culture and things like that. That is only if you're trying to do business, you're trying to consult, or if you're trying to build a solution for someone else. But if you're trying to build a product for yourself, and that's a different advice altogether, right? And for that, you need to know what kind of product is will be in demand, or it is in demand, but there is no product. So you're trying to innovate something which will solve a problem, and you have enough data that actually says that this is indeed a solution everyone is looking for. Once you have that idea, then you have to find a team to build it and money to fund it and so on. There are so many um, best practices of how to start your own product company.
Right. And what advice you would give to a fresher, for an individual? For a business owner, you need to identify his interest and need, and you need to focus on knowledge acquisition. And also, another important thing you mentioned was on geography. He cannot go and sell his product or solution in any part of the world because there's lots of cultural differences as well. What advice you want to suggest for an individual joining the IT industry? A
Um,
fresher, straight out of college, like the way you joined in 1999.
right, right. And if they are taking a job, I would advise the following thing. Again, it comes to focus. You identify a technology or a solution that you can identify a technology or a solution that you can become the best at it, right?
Right.
That you need to determine while you are in the college. If you are trying to do it after your college, you are already too late. That 4 years, 3 years of your education should actually shape you into, you know, as a programmer, as a testing expert, or UI expert, whichever area you want to focus. I think you need to decide that within the college, because there's enough knowledge out there today, and you have time to experiment and network with the people while you're in the college because of the social networks and available options today, right? So then if you decide that, then you become it's become your choice to choose a company. You can identify the company that is doing really well in that area of your interest, and then you can go there, so your learning becomes easier, and you have access to a lot of talented people, so you learn a lot more faster with the company that is doing so well in your area of interest, right? And then never stop learning. And once you identify a career path, I think you need to go deeper and deeper, and so you should never stop learning. Unfortunately, sometimes you find people get a job and then they slow down on their learning, and they get into a lot of commitments in personal life, and learning doesn't become part of their life. So when such things happens, your career growth slows down. So freshers, if you're starting a career, specialize. Don't try to do too many things. Like I mentioned about even company, it applies to even individuals. Get one or two areas of very focused specialization and build a career.
It's a very valid point, Shiva, because I had some of my guests earlier, like, when I've asked this question, made some nice recommendation for fresher, but you kind of totally entered into a different category of thinking. You mentioned about prioritizing during your study. I mean, when you're in college, for example, if you're in college for the 4 years, you're spending so much of time. You want the guys, like, to start picking up and identifying the talent at that moment of time itself during the college period, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because like things like soft skills, right? And you want to, how do you communicate? How do you work with the team? These are soft skills. You can pick it up while you are in the college itself, because fortunately, lots and lots of free courses available. And in college you can do a teamwork with your friends. You communicate, and you present theses, you present your innovation to other colleges, other industry areas. So 4 years, I think you can have a lot of fun learning and presenting, networking, talking with the people, building your own solutions. Like imagine late 90s, you can't really buy a computer by yourself, right? It's so expensive, and you can't afford it. Now every student has a laptop, has a mobile app, mobile with many apps. So you can literally build anything you want and experiment it before even you enter into an industry. Because back then we used to go and say, give you an opportunity to learn. Here, today we are sitting with an opportunity. There's lots and lots of source code. Technologies like ChatGPT can write code for you, right?
Right.
And there are many platform online you can learn uh, programming. Not just programming, you can become a search engine optimization expert without going to a college, or you can become a content writer. You can become a social media expert. You can try testing many websites and mobile apps that is there, and gain the experience for yourself, right? And you can go to this generative AI solutions and build a test case, or you whatever career you can kind of experiment while you are in the college itself, before you want to. Unless sometimes you see people get onto a job, get placed, and 6 months later they realize that's not the career they want, and but then it becomes very difficult for them to switch over the career, because the company is offering them a good package. It's exciting because they need to run the family. So more than half of the people end up staying there, and more than only half of the people would take the risk and try to go on to a new, career path which they are really into it. So, and to avoid that mistake, if you utilize your 4 years and pick up a topic and technology and become really good at it, I think that's where I would focus.
No, that's so true, Shiva, because even day before yesterday, I was having a conversation with two folks, and they were on bench. So what you're saying is, if they would have invested the right amount of time in college learning and picking up skills, they would have had an option to choose what they want. Because most of the IT companies, they hire resources in bulk and then they put them on training, and then allocate them into multiple projects. What you've said is totally agree with you. I think that is something listeners need to start focusing on when they're in college, so that they have a value before they apply for a job in any particular organization, even if a fresher, because they already had done lots of background work in terms of learning and investigating, be it in testing or UI or in social media. That's so true, Shiva. Agree with
Right.
you on that.
I mean, even with the experienced people going on to a bench, sometimes it's a situation, but most of the time, you would find them that they are they are not up to the mark in terms of their skills and what is demanded by the company. If they were able to focus, they will identify what kind of skills company is hiring, what
Right.
kind of demand is coming. These are all public knowledge, and you can go on to your job sites and see what kind of skills your company is hiring, and you shape yourself to such skills and be ready and network with the people who are hiring such positions and be visible to them, right? And you will never have to be in bench. But then, if you get into such a situation where you are often going into the situation of, being at a bench situation, or you are waitlisted, then that's an indication that somewhere you are being used only for filling a gap or something, So you must really focus on updating yourself and getting to know more people in the company for you to really grow the ladder in the company.
So true, Shiva. Shiva, which five technology do you believe are worth concentrating for the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay. Five technology for the future. I would start with any technology that is artificial intelligence, right? That's really a big trend now.
Any
In
technology with AI? Is that what you said?
any technology with AI, it can be technology focused on voice, or it can be generative AI,
Uh-huh.
it can be virtual reality, anything artificial intelligence, machine learning, or you become a programmer and machining, or you can be a data analyst. These are all a huge trend for the future, and it's not going to stop. It's not something that it will come for a few years and go down. It is becoming part of our life, and more often that you would find every technology that we use today will have to be infused with an artificial intelligence, otherwise it will become so boring to use. And gone are the days people will do a lot of their work by themselves because they want technologies to do it, and the technology now is building itself. And so I would focus on any career, very specific career within AI. AI is such a broad spectrum, but
Right.
you could choose an area that, where you want to focus and what kind of person you want to become in AI. And then I also see cybersecurity is a area is picking up big time. That has a lot of scope for someone trying to build a career, right?
Mhm.
So definitely focus on cyber security. Anything to do with the data, big data. Either you become a person who can build the databases or optimize databases or analyze databases,
Mhm.
visualize data. These are all different areas within the data, right? The data is becoming bigger and bigger, and how effectively to use the data is a big trend. And that's indeed actually powering up your AI and machine learnings and things like that. So you could focus on AI and things like that. Of course, virtual reality is another area that's in many forms, multifold. It's coming out. So I would try to focus on those areas as well. And you could see that there is at least 20 different specific area within what I spoke. Right?
Right.
If you talk about cyber security is like, there is data security, there is network security, there is within programming, you would have to find out you are becoming hacking proof and things like that. So the cyber security is a broad term. Within that, you have at least 10 different careers. So I think in a broader way, if you look at it, artificial intelligence, data, and security, this covers many important areas for you. Of course, all things to do with the mobile apps, programming languages for anything like. typical full stack developments are always going to be an need for it. Mobile technology, building mobile apps. These are all going to be always there is a need, right? Today, if you look at technologies like Python, Java, PHP, there has been a number of new technologies involved, but at the bottom technologies, the core technologies will always remain any of these big programming languages.
Right. So, if I have to summarize it, there are five areas you would recommend. That is AI, cybersecurity, big data, virtual reality, and full stack developers.
Yeah, you can summarize it like this. I mean, if you were to only choose five, yeah, sure.
Fair enough, Shiva. And Shiva, what led you to start your own business?
2006 is when I actually started my company, and this is
Right.
the first and the current company for me. I was born and brought up in a family where we were, always doing a lot of business. My father was an entrepreneur. I watched him how he does business. So growing up in an environment that day to day you get to see business and how you meet with a lot of fathers, business friends, and things like that. So there was always a need or a desire, a strong desire to become an entrepreneur yourself.
Right.
So at that time, I realized computers and software is the field to go. So I had to work for someone to learn, what it is and how to do and things like that. It took me almost 5 years before I could decide to start my own. But
Mhm.
then, when you get involved with somebody, you become loyal, trustworthy, and you enjoy the relationship with your bosses. And so I wasn't really getting in the moment to get started with the business. But there was one particular moment where I found back then the IT companies were not so employee friendly. Like, you could apply for a leave, they wouldn't approve your leave. And they will have comments about why you need to go, why can't you go another day, and things like that. So employees were not at a situation where they had all the um, freedom or power to, ask things. So you just accept whatever your employer is doing. And there was a particular moment that I decided that, if I ever started a company, I would be more employee friendly and we would not be petty about their leaves and leaving early and things like that. So that was a moment I said, okay, I'm going to start it. Now, to be honest, I was not really um, someone that I had a particular focus or a specialization. So my specialization was developing solutions and technology using languages like Java and Python. But I didn't have a client when I started. I didn't have a particular focus. I just left the company because this was not very friendly. Said, okay, no longer I'm going to work for someone, like a very typical mindset of, sometime what Indians go through, right? But then it took me a few months to realize how to run a business because you start collecting all your experience from your existing companies that you worked for. So then I was able to narrow down to some focus and get started. So if you ask me one straight answer why I started a business is I always wanted to start one, but I was waiting for a moment. The moment was that realizing that this company is not
Mhm.
employee friendly or very reasonable to the people who work hard for them. And
Right.
so I took that moment of opportunity to start.
Shiva, tell us about your business because Anubhavam Technologies offers outsourcing development services and also it has its products that focuses on the education sector. I'd like to learn more about your products and the benefits as well as your outsourcing development services, what value it provides to the customers.
Sure. Anubhavam, we actually operate in four different countries today. We started in India, subsequently, we started in the US as well. Now we have offices in Malaysia and also in UAE. We have twofold of our operation. One, we focus a lot on developing solution for our customers. So people come to us and ask to build their solution. So we become their offshore or development, only development. Most of our customer don't have an IT team. We are the IT team for them. So we strategize, we build, maintain their products. Sometimes it's a insurance customer, another time it's a travel or loyalty and things like that. So we developed expertise, building from the scratch and maintaining the technology for very, very large corporations. So most of our customers have been with us for many years now. That's one side, the IT services side.
That's
About 10
predominantly on
years
the software development side, right?
software development for others.
Right.
And we also have a product division, which is actually a platform that we built called the Creatrix Campus. This is a platform, the new term for it is no code, low code, which means we have a platform. It has a lot of components to customize things for the customer. So each time there is a requirement from a customer to change something, we don't end up coding. We actually use the platform capabilities to configure instead of writing code. And that's very highly focused on higher education, universities. So we work with universities worldwide, very large universities, top brands in the world. We offer them individual solution, sometimes an integrated collective solution from their admission all the way to their alumni for a student life cycle, faculty focus, and learning and learning analytics and assessment solutions. Right. So we operate end to end for universities. If an university comes to us, we can take care of them when all their technology needs.
A complete end-to-end solution for universities.
Universities, yes.
Right. And what is the process of designing and developing your product? How did you come up with that idea?
Oh, so again, there was a need. You could, being an IT company, having exposed to many clients, part of the clients at that time, many universities would have come to us and ask us to specifically build a solution for them. So I also got an opportunity to meet with many university leaders because you get invited to speak in universities and things like that. So what I've realized is that universities were struggling without an integrated technology. The technologies were kind of outdated, and many big IT companies were not focused on higher education for this type of needs.
Right.
So we took that as an opportunity. We could see a solution, but then I also realized to build a platform. So if anything changes in future, because dynamically growing industries such as higher education often finds itself a need for a change. So we thought, okay, let's build a platform so it can be flexible. And
Right.
so design a product. Yeah, you have a different focus. First, identify a problem. What is the problem your customers face? Because you don't build a technology sometime just because you wanted it. You should have a problem that is going to be solved by your solution or a product, right? And then you talk to the audience, the target audience, and understand what kind of. Sometime you will build a problem. You'll see a problem and you will build a solution, but people will not use it, right?
Right.
So you really have to build a product that can be used by the target audience. So you do a lot of market research, you do comparative analysis, because there is not always a direct competition, right? You say, for example, when a car was invented, right, there was no competition. Their competition was probably horses and bullocks and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So but you still have to identify the people who are using those vehicles, and then design your comparative advantage, right? So you do all that. You do a beta test and you do a quality assurance and you talk to the customer, get feedback, do a lot of analytics, and continue to improve from the feedback and things like that, and have a proper strategy to get paid. And monetization is another part of building products, and also make sure your products have proper meets with proper compliances and all the legal consideration for the local the areas that you operate on.
Right. And can you share any specific instance where your product or service made a huge impact on the customer? To an extent, like,
Many
what were the
times.
needs? What were the needs and the expectation of the client, and how did your offering address those requirements? And finally, what was the feedback from the client?
See, the good thing is that anytime you are working with a client where they are completely manual,
Right.
so taking them to a digital solution, the value starts from there, right? Today, you end up doing a lot of manual work, which is say takes you 10 hours to do it. You could actually literally build a technology to handle a lot of things that you do manually and by automating it, right?
Right.
So universities worldwide today, um, more than half of them, and most of their problems still manual, right? So anytime we go and say, hey, here is a solution that you digitalize everything, and we actually handle many other things that you handle day and night. And so, for example, there's a lot of paperwork they do whenever there is an auditing or a compliance requirement comes, because then the universities have to focus on multiple department collect data, and usually a tedious process for a
Mhm.
month or two, day night. Everyone works extra hours. When our solution comes, we worked with the one particular university in India, especially from Chennai, a government-based university, with 35,000 students and 30 different departments. And they were trying to go for a accreditation process, which they have been shying for 5 years. Because they didn't have the confidence on the data they had, and then they released a tender. We participated, and we got the project. Within a few months, we were able to automate the entire data collection process and visualizing data and trying to help them. If you go in with this data, what is the outcome, and how do you really focus? What are the weakness of your university, and where you have to improve? All that information where they were able to find out within a few months, which they couldn't do it in the past 5 years, right? So sometimes the values are immense when you digitalize your solution, automate it. So we have a focus of digitalize and automate and transform, right?
Right.
So when you say digitalize, even if you are on a Google form or a Google sheet, you are digitalized already.
Right.
But then having a automation that is an integrated solution for every problem that you have, and that is actually the automation that you're not doing it manually. But then all automation leads to transformation. So you need something more to transform. So that's where things start um, helping the universities, where you from one level to another level you reach.
Right.
In many occasions like that, there are universities use our solution. Like universities have course registration, choice-based credit system. So students used to do these things manually. The registrar's office gets so busy
Mhm.
during the course registration process. There's a lot of errors and mistakes. Students gets very unsatisfied with that such processes. When we built a solution for these things, there are universities with 40,000 students, and we're able to register their students within the day to 4 days time. It works miraculously, and it's a superior transformation, and leads to super satisfaction from your students and faculties, because they are not working extra hard. It takes 5-10 minutes for a student to register what they want for a semester, which used to be like 10 times going to the registrar office and following up and making mistakes and things like that. So it's a huge transformation in every aspect.
Right. And what has been the feedback you received from the client? For example, someone was doing so much of manual work in terms of registration and application filling, and once you automated all the work within the university, what feedback you've received from the dean, or the basically from the college community?
I think it's very fulfilling when you talk to your customers, when they say how they used to struggle and how your solutions are
Hmm.
helping them and put them at ease.
Right.
It is a very satisfying things to hear. So and that's the dream of our vision, right? So we want to make sure that the lives who are trying to educate and build a better country should be at ease. They shouldn't be struggling to teach, and they should focus on teaching, not
Right. Not
administrative
on the
work.
manual
So
work. Yeah. Back
yeah,
and
so
forth.
we
Yeah.
get very good feedback from student level to head of the departments, deans, and the vice chancellor. So, and there are a lot of customers end up promoting our solution. They go recommend and find the customers for us. They start bragging about their transformation to others. So we still have a long way to go as as a company and a product, but I think we are up to something very big.
Right. And I'm sure your product has a global customer base. How do you effectively promote and market or sell your product to an international audience? Because I believe you have a good customer base in Singapore, Malaysia, where you're providing top quality services to universities over there. So, what are the steps, action you take to promote your products over there?
Our biggest strength is we are a thought leader. So as you could see that we go speak at different conferences and people know us, and we write a lot of content on the internet. We produce a lot of white papers. So people look at us as a thought leader of this industry. So they see us more than a product company. They see us that we know how to do things. So we work with say European universities, and they when we present our solution and technology, they could see that we are far ahead of the current situations. So it's easier when people see you as a thought leader. The trust is actually built already. So it's
Hmm.
better to have the customer reach out to you than you reaching out to the customer,
Right.
right? So that's the strategy that I always follow. How do you make yourself so
Visible.
visible
Yeah.
so customers can find you? When they find you, they find you useful.
Right. And Shiva, to another question to that, like, can you guide us through the specific process, how your product is implemented, starting from when you receive a lead, which team takes an active role in the implementation, and what kind of support do you provide after the implementation is completed? For example, I'm someone, a university reaching out to you. I have so many problems. These are the problems I have. Suppose that what are the action items you take so that, like, you understand the requirement thoroughly and the product is implemented properly.
Right. Okay. So most of the time, what we do is we look at the university and their challenges, and we try to be consultative because that's one of our core value. First, we take a look what is their current situation. And sometimes we strongly believe not always the client knows what they want. They might have a specific problem and they would want a solution for it, but then they might not identify a root of that problem, and they would try to solve it at a very surface level. So we go to them and take a good look at it, and we talk. We don't try to immediately sell a product and a module to them. We actually try to analyze, work with their mindset, and say, listen, okay, I understand you have this problem, but do you know this is originating from this department and this because of this? So why not you start looking at these areas as well? Because I'm happy to give you a solution for this, but it's just a temporary fix. So we try to be very consultative with them, and we try to be very authentic in the way we approach the client. So not only we identify their problem, but we also identify the root of their problem, and then we try to map that with our solutions and technologies, and then it offer it with the proper consulting and training. So they are not just using our product, but in the process of learning our product, they're also changing their process and policies for the better of the university, things like that. So that's how we actually work with the clients. And most of the time, we have identified the problem of the country, and then we have identified the common problem of the universities. So we would always have solutions that more than they need. Very initial days, yes, but now I think we have got enough solutions for the customers. Initial days, yeah, we would talk to the customer, then the customer share a problem, and then we try to automate it. But then you've been doing it for more than 10 years, so you kind of know what is going to be the next 3 4 years, and we kind of lead that effort with the universities now to tell them what they should be focused on.
Right. So your approach is basically you do a consulting approach. For example, someone reaches out to you, you understand the requirement, the problem they're facing, and you try to map it up with the current modules or the product what you have. And then again, you go back to the drawing board, giving a customized demo to the client. to
Yes,
showcase what you have understood, what problem they are facing, and how effectively your product is solving the solutions.
that is correct. So although we are a software as a service solution,
Uh-huh.
most of the time we do a very customized demo because the relationship with the customers is long term. So we don't do it a very short relationship.
Right.
We end up working with the customer for more than 5 years plus, right? So somebody's investing into your technology, somebody's looking for to transform. So you cannot just simply go and say, "Here's the solution, use it." You have to study it properly and then customize it for the customers. Be flexible, and then help them transform and use the solution.
Right. And what is the duration of your project? For example, how much time does it take to implement your product? And yeah, like for 3 months, 6 months.
It varies because some universities are very, very big in size, right? And
Hmm.
there are Singapore-based universities that we are working with. Even the sales process can take as long as 1 year, right? And
Okay.
implementing a solutions with them also can take 1 year to 18 months sometime. Some universities that are small and mid-size, you can start to end and finish it in about 6 months time if
Hmm.
they are transforming end to end. But typically, the result comes after 1 year. A big
Right.
result, visible result. So it's a bigger, larger initiative
Hmm.
than that you can do it in a few months because we're talking about the number of departments, number of people, large volume of students, and challenges from the compliances. So we're trying to solve a lot of situations here. So that typically, if you do it faster, it's 1 year.
Hmm.
But sometimes it can go as long as 2 years, 2.5 years with very, very large universities.
Right. And you also operate in various countries, including the United States, Gulf, and Malaysia. When did you first expand your presence in the global market, and what drove this decision for you?
Actually, when we started in India, within 6 months or 7 months, we started an operation in the US as well. So there wasn't really a long gap to because there was always a need to have an office in the US because most of our clients were from US.
Right.
So roughly around that time, we started a US operation as well.
Hmm.
Then Malaysia and Singapore are in the past few years we have started more than having our own organization, but we had a lot of partner offices. We had partners across the world who were helping us grow our business, helping us complement our solutions and things like that. So we had strategic partners, we have reselling partners, we have technology partners. So the ecosystem, our partners were growing our business to more than 20 plus countries.
Right. So you also partnered with similar like-minded people, like-minded organization, uh, to help and promote your product internationally.
Right,
Right.
right.
Fantastic. And Shiva, what website or portals do you frequently browse to stay updated on the latest technology news or any particular topic which you would like to follow, especially in the education sector or in this offshore sector?
There isn't one website. I use a lot of. So my learning is not as it comes, right? I always have a focus to specialize in certain things. So I'm always seeking for knowledge.
Right.
So when I try to find wherever I can find what I'm really seeking, I go and learn there. So it could be a learning portal that has a lot of courses, or it could be video sites like YouTube, or I actually go and learn what I want to learn. So
Mhm.
my daily focus of if I'm focused on cybersecurity for the next few weeks, and I focus all the courses, all the articles. So I try to find the knowledge I want to find, right? So
Right.
I'm not generally, and then of course with social media, you see a lot of trends and technologies, then you dabble into it. But a large portion of my learning is already planned. You know,
Okay. Right.
uh,
Fantastic. And you also volunteer in Sahaja Yoga India. So when did you the spiritual journey start?
that was so it's a very effective meditation for individuals who are trying to understand themselves better,
Uh-huh.
find their spiritual journey.
Right.
I actually started around the time I started my career as well, so around 2000, mid 2000, I would say. I think end of 2000 is when I found this meditation. Being an IT person, you would always want to put up with your stress and pressures and things like that. And that's how the meditation journey begins for most of the people, right? And then slowly they transform themselves into more spiritually seeking person with the more spiritual experience and things like that. So I was able to find my answers, and I was able to find peace, balance, and stay very, very healthy with Sahaja Yoga meditation. Sahaja Yoga is a very spontaneous and effortless meditation technique, which is not very religion specific, but it is accepting all the religions and giving the best practice for the human being to find peace within, right?
Right.
And you know yourself better, you know how to solve your own challenges and problems, and yet connected to God and feel the joy and enjoy your life as it comes. And so any challenges come, any problems comes, you were able to see solutions more than getting involved with the problem and getting stressed and things like that. So it makes you a very, very effective person. It makes you very balanced person to see people, make you more loving. I could see the person I was and I am today. There's always a transformation, and you always find that seeking of making yourself better never stops, right? You want to perfect yourself as a human being more than being a professional. So that seeking becomes more and more day by day. Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi was the founder of this meditation. I become her follower because of various reasons. One are back then when I was trying to find meditation techniques, everything was so expensive I couldn't afford it. Um, so people were saying that there's a course you want to join and it'll take you a month or 6 months and you graduate. So somehow I did not believe that spiritual journeys can be customized and offered in courses and even charged money for, right? And it's something that you have to do it by yourself. It's not like you go to a gym or some sort of dance program that you pay for someone to teach you because it's a skill. But meditation is not a skill. It's a very spontaneous happening within yourself. And when I found Sahaja Yoga, Sri Mataji was teaching this meditation across all over the world and recognized very heavily by different government entities and private entities. But she never charged a penny for it. And she was only giving the experience. So that was my first impression, of positivity of going into this meditation. But then I could find myself a lot of benefits, helped me to transform the person who I am today. Then I also started teaching this to others also. And of course, we don't charge. We go to corporations, we go to schools, we go to universities, and we can teach this meditation to a large quantity of people within 1 hour. They can feel a lot of peace, a lot of joy in that one particular session alone. It's possible, it's powerful, it's verifiable. It's a very easy technique. Anyone can try it. It doesn't have any restriction for age or religion or you know uh, need to be on a certain diet and things like that. You can be very simple person yet try this 10 to 15 minutes at home,
Right.
and you can make me talk about this topic day long. So so it's
Do you still do it, Shiva, in terms of teaching to
yes,
others
yes,
as well as
every day.
self-practicing? Every day.
Every day, yeah, every day I do it. Every day I practice, and so you have to. This is not something you can do it and leave it, and it becomes part of your life.
Okay.
As frequently as you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, you don't stop brushing your teeth, right? And you do it as a part of your life.
Right.
It just comes naturally to you. So meditation is like that. So it becomes part of your daily activity.
Right. You still visits offices to teach the Sahaja Yoga practices?
Yes, after pandemic, I don't really go in person
Uh-huh.
because we realized that it can work online also. So
Okay.
we were able to teach using the technologies on conference tools, and you
Right.
can get people to join. You can
Right.
teach them online.
Right. And where do you put your money for investment? Do you have any preference over there? Do you prefer in stock or mutual funds or real estate, gold? And also, would you like to advise any youngster who is listening to this conversation, how soon they need to start investment?
Yeah, so I have to admit, I'm not the best person to ask this question, but when it comes to investment, I'm a kind of person who invests a lot in people.
Okay.
I invest everything that I earn back to people for their, it could be my employees or someone who's trying to get better. So I invest a lot more on people, but of course, I try to save a little bit here and there for the future. But I'm not really crazy about stock market or real estate and things like that. So at this point of my life, I'm more into this. Maybe in future it will change.
Right, fair enough. And Shiva, do you have any set morning or night routine which you love to follow?
A routine, yes, of course. I mean, I start
You said that the
my
first
day
thing you do,
early.
like, after waking up is meditation. Apart from that, any set morning routine? Okay, these are the things, four things, like, I have to do while waking up and before hitting the bed. These are the activities I involve myself in.
Yeah, I think meditation is the big thing that if you can do start your day with a meditation, what it does to you is it energizes your energy centers, right? And you have the energy to handle a very difficult day. Then it also helps you to introspect as a human being, reflect yourself, and understand good things and bad things you do, and then you correct yourself, right? And that's how you start a day, being grateful to what you have. And of course, I do physical exercise a little bit just to stay fit and things like that. And my breakfast are usually very healthy. You eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, and because you travel a lot, sometimes you compromise a lot on sleep as well. So I stay very fit by eating right. So I reduce the quantity of food I take. So I can remain with the same size of my suits and things like that. Um, Mornings, you spend some time with the kids, and then you go on to start your day, and catching up with your team and things like that. And of course, you have the day to work, and then try to spend some time again in the evening with your family and sleep early. That's one of my I try to sleep early and wake up early.
Right.
So my daily routines must include, proper healthy diet and little bit of exercise at least, and proper meditation and spending time with the family and
True.
sleep properly. So these are things that I try to follow as much as you can. But sometimes, when you try to deal with a lot of people, try to solve bigger problems, you may not be as privileged as you want it to be, but you try your level best to stay on your course.
Right, fantastic. And Shiva, I also, during our offline conversation, you mentioned that you're open to hiring new resources as well as provide any intern. Any thoughts on that? Like, is your organization hiring now, or looking out for any fresh graduates or intern to join your team?
Yeah, so there's always a lot of need for us. We are always hiring. We hire marketing people, sales people, technology like PHP, Python, Angular, mobile technologies. There's always need for it. There's always the hiring never stops in those areas. We
Hmm.
also look for good salespeople. We also look for business analysts. And being focused on higher education, we always look for people who knows the higher education industry really well.
Right.
Freshers and interns, we have good freshers. We keep hiring them, training them on our because our product can be customized by even freshers with a very limited training, because
Right.
it's a user friendly thing. So we always hire people who are interested in joining us. You know,
Fair enough. Shiva, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time over the weekend. I really appreciate once again. It was wonderful connecting with you after a long time. Thank you so much, Shiva.
thank you, Suresh. I think you're doing a wonderful job yourself, and best wishes to you. And thank you for inviting me. And I wish you all the best with your podcast. Let the podcast grow big, and you bring value to people.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Suresh.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us today on Onsite and Offshore podcast. We hope you found our conversation insightful and engaging. And remember, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. That way, you'll never miss an episode and will always be up to date with the latest insight and discussion. We love hearing from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with any question, comments, or feedback. You can find us on social media or shoot us an email. Goodbye and take care.